Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. I was really inspired the other day. I was on Instagram looking at the channel of a lady called Alexandra Beller, who you may have already heard on the show. She came on as a guest. Very wise woman, very connected into all sorts of fantastic insights to do with movement of the body and dance. And this particular reel that she had was about exertion and recuperation. And in the reel, she shows us some dancers who are, first of all, dancing in what looks like a very effortful way with a lot of very clear, crisp, brisk, strong movements. And then they shift into a different way of moving, which is more fluid, loose, flowing, slower. And as she speaks over this, Alexandra is explaining to us that recuperation in the particular modality she's working with is actually not, as a lot of us think it is, simply stopping doing anything at all and just collapsing. But recuperation actually occurs when we shift into an opposite mode to the mode within which we were exerting ourselves. So, for example, if the exertion is sitting on a chair, staring at a screen, doing admin work, lots of detail, the recuperation for that might be doing some yoga, or it might be rolling around on the floor doing some stretching, or it might be going for a walk. Or if the exertion is spending time with friends, relatives, colleagues, clients, and being very involved in interacting with people, the recuperation may be spending time alone, looking within, perhaps doing a tarot reading, perhaps doing an I Ching reading, perhaps reading a book. Or if the exertion is actually the other way round, let's say the exertion is a long and quite demanding yoga nidra session, then it could be that the recuperation for that is some brisk movement or getting on the computer and doing a little bit of therapeutic admin. So this whole idea that recuperation is actually bringing into play the reverse mode of activity or being or time passing from the activity that was the exertion is a really fascinating and beautiful notion, in my opinion. It's also a way of magically expanding time, because if our recuperation is in a way almost as active as our exertion, but in a very different way to the way the exertion is, then instead of feeling like we're sort of splitting our life up between doing something useful and just collapsing and recovering, we're having a much more rich mixture of experiences in our life, much more creative. So for me, in my life, in this moment, the example is, I've just been sitting working in my journal, which is a form of exertion of looking inwards and exploring and reflecting. And then recuperation from that is me standing, watching these beautiful butterflies flying around and playing and dancing in the sunlight, whilst actually doing something productive, creating a little solo episode for you. So maybe reflect on this different idea of recuperation and see how that plays out in your life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.